Well, hello there to all the good people of Ohio and beyond. This is Aaron Knapp, and you're tuned into Unplugged, broadcasting without permission. This is a place where the truth gets louder and we dig deeper, and where we always remember be lawful, not awful. If you want the full stories, the documents, the videos, and everything they don't want you to see, head on over to Aaron Knapp unplugged.com, my new home for every investigation, every episode, and every update. And while you're here, be sure to like the video, follow the page, and hit subscribe, and share this with someone who needs the truth. We're building something real here. We're building something fearless, and we're doing it together. Welcome to Unplugged. Let's kick.
Plug with nap. Yeah, we cut through the noise. No script, no leash, no polished decoys. Broadcasting without permission. We don't ask. We lift the curtain and we drop the mask. Unplug with nap. Yeah, we cut through the noise. No script, no leash, no polished decoys. Broadcasting without permission. We don't ask. We lift the curtain and we drop the mask.
I love that. Hey there, good evening, Lorain, Ohio, Lorain County, Sheffield, Sheffield Lake, Sheffield Village, North Ridgeville, Cleveland, and beyond. Even if you're in Bakersfield, California, it's nice to see you. I'm here today. We got our little Christmas theme going on because StreamYard's throwing out the Christmas stuff, and it's Christmas time. Anyway, I just want you guys to all do me one real quick favor and look right back here at that. Okay, gotcha. Here's the deal. We're going to talk tonight a little bit about what's been going on all around town. We're going to talk a little bit about Lorain, a little bit about Lorain City Council. We're going to discuss this debacle that's going on over in Sheffield Village or Sheffield Lake. I get the Sheffields confused, but Sheffield Lake and Graves stepping down. And my understanding is they want to hire not only a new lawyer for Graves' position, which is Levesque, which we'll get into that, but also they want to give the old trustee a position in the financial department. Again, the way that our government works, right? They give each other positions because, hey, she couldn't even be bothered as the incumbent to properly, vet herself for the election. So they got to give her something to tide her over until they can try to come back and go after Moreau. That being said, why this show exists and, why tonight in itself will matter is that, if I don't define, I'm going to open it, just put it out here. Because if I don't define the purpose at the beginning, I feel like people would try to define this for me later. And it's not a reaction stream, right? It's not even a rant. It's not a personality clash, and it's not a gossip show dressed up as news. This is accountability conversation rooted in the documents that I've been researching, the public records I've been looking over, all the sworn statements, the court filings, the statutory obligations that apply, whether the officials like them or not. Now, tonight is a comparison exercise, right? We're going to two different speeches, two sets of values. We're going to look at Bradley's speech, both the one that he did on the first council meeting where he talked about people, following the rules. Then he did another one, and he started talking of, happiness and values, and it just felt like two ways of talking when pressure changes, right? One public record, and I'm not here to psychoanalyze motives, right? I'm here to measure the actions against their words, because that's really what accountability is, folks. The public doesn't get to vote on your vibes, right? For your older people out there, that's mood. The public lives under the decisions that are made. The public will pay for the outcomes that happen. And I'm saying this clearly at the front because I don't want people to, I want you guys to understand my posture on all this. And when I cite the statutes tonight, I'm not playing lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. I can't give legal advice. I'm talking about obligations written in the Ohio law that public offices are required to follow. And when I reference a vote or an agenda, I'm not, relying on rumor. I'm relying on the record. I went and got all these records for this. That's what keeps it clean. So if anybody listening is wondering what the goal is here tonight, what I want I want a community that can actually tell the difference between values as marketing and values as governance. I want a public that understands that transparency is not a slogan. Transparency is a process, right? You got to work to get there. And when the process fails, people become victims, whether anyone really intended harm or not. So let's go ahead and get into it. Before we do, I just kind of want to go over a little bit here tonight. And some of it is this. Look, people ask me to look into this stuff, and lately I have been. And I'm looking at, and what I'm seeing is not pretty. Uh, I'm getting messages from my sources everywhere. And it's like, I swear to God, it's almost like a Geiger counter going off in this town. Everything's gone nuclear lately. And by everything, I mean everything. Um, you know, as I believe was pointed out on another podcast recently, I typically use somewhat of a script, because if I don't, shit, with a script, I go on for 3 hours. You guys, I just never stop. It'd be a non-ending podcast. So tonight, I'm leaving some space a little bit at the end for some freestyling. And so, like, if I start rambling, just right over here in the comments, like, move on. But the topic tonight is going to be the different governments, right? We're going to talk about Lorraine City government. We're going to talk about Sheffield City government. We're going to talk about Rocky Radiff. We're going to talk about Joseph Levesque and their positions, the way they tie together. We're going to talk about the mayor's speech, both of them, the first one and the second one. We're going to discuss a little bit about some county issues that have come up. I got quite the little agenda for this evening. I did write a little bit of it in the description. So, but the bottom line that I'm seeing now is everything is, I don't know if it's collapsing or if it's all coming together like a plan, guys. When we look at what we've got going on, we look at Rocky Radiff, everyone's like, oh, he's in trouble. Everyone looks at David Graves, oh, he's in trouble. Or we're going to hire this person, we're going to do that. But are we? Are they? Or was this the plan all along? I don't know anymore. I used to think I had a pretty good grip on what their plans were, what my plans were, what your plans were. I thought I was, a little bit of a puppet master in a lot of this stuff. But recently, some of this stuff's thrown me for a curve. And I don't know if it's because it's working. And I feel like, if you look at game theory and Occam's razor and all of the proper adages for this, it is working. And I think I'm just as shocked it's working as a lot of people are. But take, for instance, Rocky Radiff. I've said all along he shouldn't be mayor and working in Lorraine law. And that's not a slight on the man. It's just an ethical issue. And even the Ohio Ethics Commission said it was going to be really difficult for him to balance that wire when he was just a council person and working in Lorraine law. Then when he became mayor, they said it was going to be really hard, but he still did it. And I complained and I bitched and moaned and nobody listened. And then I've wrote articles about Graves, Riley, Levesque, all these people. Now, for argument's sake, let's do the argument that everyone always gives me. It's a very specific field, lawyering, and it's very hard to find people that want to do these jobs. I get it. I do. And I'm willing to hear you out on that argument. But I'm also willing to say, you can't have, it's one thing to have one guy doing two jobs, like maybe he's a law director in 3 towns. It's completely different when one guy's a law director and also, or assistant law director and also a mayor. And when those contracts tie together, and when Graves' name is all over every one of the contracts for sewer and police, and then mutual agreements and mutual aid agreements, it gets to be a very hinky mess. And you don't want hinky messes in this. That's the problem. You get this hinky mess. So we're going to get into our next section here. We're going to roll into, just getting into that first segment of the mayor's speech on values. And that would be our mayor in Lorraine, Mayor Bradley. He made a speech, not this last Monday, but the Monday before. We were in the midst of a council meeting. I didn't attend that one, I don't think. Maybe I did. All I remember was he was talking about values, and or before he was talking about values, he was talking about following the rules of council. They had this whole meeting about the rules of council and Rule 47, all these different rules, and in the midst of it, Mayor Bradley starts talking about if I were told to sit, I would sit. If I were told to stand, I would stand. If I were told to do this, I would do this. And then implying, even though he said, he did say with full disclosure, he started by saying, and if the law department tells me I'm wrong, so be it. But the words he said were almost verbatim the complaint I made at ADA level. And I'm going to briefly cover that because I don't want to get back into it. I feel like I covered it in another podcast, but even if I didn't, I can. It's not the crux of the story. I sent an ADA letter a year ago saying, hey, look, I'm a little bit of a bitch. Don't yell at me. Don't scream at me. Otherwise, I'm going to yell and scream back at you. Like, that's my response. My PTSD makes me freeze. And instead of saying nothing or fighting, I just match whatever tone you're giving me. So when Joelle's yelled at me in the past, I raised my voice too, because I equal the tone to tone. And in Joelle's case, there was no any real threat, right? Like, it was just the tone. It would make me raise my voice, and I didn't like that because I don't like being that guy. I like to be controlled. When I come into city council meetings, I have a speech in front of me, and I've timed it out to 2 minutes. They want to sell me like I'm some disruptive force, and I'm not. And, maybe at one point in their eyes, Garen was, but he's not. And then they want to make me Garen. I mean, again, I saw Patrick Horn at the last Monday meeting, and I almost stuck around. I stuck around for a little while. I was going to say hi, but I look at him and then I just feel sad. I don't want to do that. I'm not trying to cause like some sort of a disagreement in City Hall, but the least we can do is like men at least acknowledge each other when we're out and about. But I didn't. But, the language starts to change, though, when you listen to the mayor's speech on values versus his 2 weeks ago prior Monday night speech, and how his language changes, his intent usually kind of has to as well. Let's start with the speech, because the speeches are not just words. Now, I actually have it prepared for you tonight because we're trying out different stuff. So what we're going to do here is real quick is I'm going to show you the mayor's speech where he talks about me. Well, it seems like me. That committee meeting last Monday, I get that, Garen. Let me tell you this much, though. If you go online and you look at it, I don't think it's listed as a committee meeting. I think it's listed as a city council meeting, which is kind of weird. Maybe it is. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play something for you here real quick. We're going to pop this up. This is our city council meeting from that last week. Or that committee meeting, I'm sorry, from 2 weeks ago. I feel like they have it listed as a city council meeting. I could be wrong, Garen. It kind of threw me off. This was December 8th.
5 minutes. Because the committee chairperson needs to have the backing.
Ugh. I don't know. I think that's them, not me.
Of
yeah.
These rules. Okay. So that's
I stand corrected. The buffering apparently happens. Or maybe it's just my
how I feel about it. And if someone wants to move that they hear more from it.
All right, hold on. I'm going to let this catch up a minute because apparently it's running behind. I'm not used to sharing live videos from the city's page. I should have downloaded this myself.
Oh, a time limit because
I'm going to pass it is what's going to happen. Ugh.
Meeting can extend that if the person is making some cogent arguments or some cogent points that you think need a little bit more time. So I agree that you put limits on yourself. Why not put a limit on the public? Give the chair the right to extend that at the chair's discretion. Thank you. Rule 13. Down so that we can get through the business that we need to get through.
if it goes
you know what? I thought I had it all geared up, and this is running way too slow. So we're just going to stop sharing, and we're going to go back to our main move here. Let's just point it out this way. At that meeting, the mayor got up and he went over several facts. And most of those facts look like this. He wrote, or he stated that, when you're told to sit, you should sit. That Joel, the city president, or whoever the pro tem was, had control of the whole building the entire time city council was in session, including during breaks and meetings and all that. And that, if he was told to sit, he would sit. And if he was told to not speak, he would not speak, because that's what you do. And that's the rules of city council. And that's how you follow it. Right. Well, the problem is I personally have written a couple of letters to the mayor himself about that. Last year, I was speaking to an ADA rep, Mr. Jay Shore, in regards to this. And he advised me to send a message to the city council, which I did. And I sent one on 11/5, and then I sent one, I think it was 11/25 of this year, 26. And then I also sent one the previous year. Now, this newest one was basically a compliance letter, and I wrote this on November 26th, and then Mayor Bradley did his speech on November 8th, first talking about, basically, if told to sit, sit. If told to shut up, shut up. And listen, we all know me. I mean, I'm not going to ever shut up. I mean, that's why I thought it was stupid when Ray asked me, do you have something to say? Well, please. I have a podcast, multiple formats of having something to say. Seeing something and saying something isn't my problem. It's knowing when to shut the fuck up is my problem, apparently. But the formal ADA notice I sent, which required the Lorain city to respond. Now, they didn't respond to the first one I sent a year ago. And I think that's funny because almost the same thing happened. I talked about Joel. I said, look, I just don't want him yelling at me. I'd prefer them to address me in a human tone that doesn't require you to yell at me. Now, I get it. Maybe Joel's just like Garen. He speaks loud. But when Garen spoke loud without a mic, you guys charged him with a crime. So when I'm sitting in audience and Joel feels the need to address me all the time. And as I pointed out recently, I'm not a member of your council. You could have made me subject to your council rules, but you chose not to. That's on you. I'm cool with that, actually. Now I don't have to follow the rules in that building. Those are rules, not laws. The only law in council rule is don't disrupt the meeting. And to disrupt the meeting, you have to intentionally do it. So when I talked to Bradley, I submitted it pursuant to 42 USC 12131-12134, 28 CFR Part 35, and 42 USC 12203, retaliation, coercion, and interference. Now, this is on top of the other one I already have for what they did with McCann. But I was informing him as the chief executive, and out of compliance with federal disability law, I had to let him know that he had failed to accommodate my documented disability a year prior. He wasn't allowing public officials he was allowing public officials to verbally target me during meetings, i.e. carry on. Creating a hostile environment for a disabled resident, i.e. me. Engaging in retaliatory conduct after receiving written ADA notice. Okay, so there we are. Big deal, right, Aaron? Boohoo. Well, but he got the notice. That means he had to act. And I'd sent the prior notice on September 4th of 2024. And I sent it to City Council mail group, Mayor's office, Law Department, Clerk's Council, and other city officials. Nobody listened. I let them know I need an ability to stand, move, or shift at times. End of row accessibility seating. I prefer the front. And no more hostile comment or public confrontations. That's what I needed from them to follow my requirements. And the request was ignored. They just didn't care. He wants to make fun of me. He wants to make meetings about me. He wants to talk about in his little meeting about everything that has to be done. Yeah, I just asked him to not do that. I talked about, I quietly made a brief comment to another attendee. I didn't disrupt. I didn't raise my voice. Carry on started with the whole, did you say something? Did you say something? And at this point, he caused a break in the meeting. He aggravated my disability. He violated my existing ADA accommodation request, which I'd already sent a year prior, and created a dangerous and hostile environment for a disabled attendee and everyone, quite frankly. And it was all captured on video and audio, which the city now wants to pretend they don't know or have. So I asked them, hey, you didn't make reasonable accommodations. You denied me equal access to public programs. You've allowed hostility and intimidating conduct by officials and the public alike. You've ignored a valid and documented ADA accommodation request, which I sent. And my conduct also implicates my First Amendment rights. This conduct also, affected my First Amendment rights. Yelling, the incident chilled my participation in public government meetings. So I asked for immediate corrective action, a written assurance it wouldn't happen again, a plan for ADA training, approval for accommodations. And then I told them if they didn't act, I was going to file with the U.S. Department of Justice, Civil Rights Division, the Ohio Civil Rights Commission, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and the Federal District Court under Title II in 1983. And Bradley's answer was to come out and discuss as if I were some kind of punk-ass bitch, and he could just talk about me like a motherfucker on his on the city's live stream, like it didn't fucking matter. Like I wasn't already suing him for other stuff. I got you, bro. Right? You think it's funny. I didn't find it very funny, Popeye. So, again, when you came out with that and then you doubled down with your little value statement. And in your value statement, you're talking about, we respect people with disabilities. Really? Sure doesn't fucking look like it. Because what it kind of looks like is you're just a dickhead who respects your own pocketbook. You respect like what people can give you and how you can look good in the public eye, right? Don't worry, bro. Like, look, you got Tia Hilton out there bashing you. That's who she was talking about. She wasn't talking about Jack Hall when she commented on one of my Facebook posts about snorting cocaine off of like hookers or strippers' rear ends. Like, she wasn't talking about Jack Hall. She wasn't talking about me. She's talking about you, not me. You let that slide, but you're going to address me, public, common, as if my request meant nothing. And then Jay Shore gets involved, who got involved with you guys like 5 years ago, apparently, and kicked your ass. And that's why you suddenly came out with a values statement that had disabilities included. Come on. But all right, whatever. Oh, by the way, thanks for standing up for me, Angel. Got you. Yeah, you were too busy out of state in Florida, wherever you were at, doing you. So, well, he did the speeches, and the speeches were not just words, because when a mayor speaks in an official capacity, those words are not private opinion. They're words that become part of the administrative environment of a city. They matter because they shape enforcement decisions, they influence staff behavior, and they become context when disputes later come up in court, right? His little value speech as presented uses the language of unity and civic trust. It invokes respect, professionalism, inclusion, and the idea that government should be a stabilizing force. That language is familiar because it's designed to reassure. It's designed to calm residents down and make people believe the institution's steady, impartial, and fair. And to be clear, those values are not really controversial. Nobody is against respect in the abstract. I'm damn sure not. That's all I've been asking for. But the problem isn't the words. The problem is what happens when the language shifts under pressure. Compare what he said in the one speech and then to the next one. That's where you got to pay attention. And again, I didn't have it for you. I apologize, but it's online. You can see them both. Last Monday's committee meeting, or last Monday's city council meeting, the previous Monday's committee meeting. And 3/4 of the way in, Bradley speaks, and he's talking about basically respect in city council chambers and how Joel holds all power at all times, apparently, in the building, where you have to, like ask him for permission to poop or pee. But that's where you have to pay attention, because that's the most important detail in these political speeches, are often what changes. His tone changed. He was snarky and mean that first Monday. That next Monday, he was soft and, we need to do better. We need to all be friends. We need to work together. We need to be a better Lorraine. But hey, the tone changes, targets change, the framing changes, omissions become louder than statements. And that's where one speech is broad and aspirational and the other one becomes selective and defensive. The other implicity polices the boundaries of acceptable criticism. That matters legally and administratively for the very simple reason is that it disputes the First Amendment, ADA Title II, or retaliation that these courts all routinely examine in contemporaneous statements to infer intent. What did you mean? How did you mean it? That does not mean that the speech itself is illegal, right? It means that Bradley's speech, the first one and the second one, become context. They become evidence. It becomes part of what a fact finder is entitled to weigh when someone claims they were treated differently because of what they said, who they are, or what a disability that they disclosed to the environment was. And I gave them everything. I'm not standing here declaring unlawful intent. I'm documenting this pattern that a judge, an investigator, or any ethics body would be entitled to consider. That's why this segment matters, because the speeches are in the public face. And then we move into what happens when the public face meets the actual enforcement, right? And that's completely different. That's where you see what they don't say online. What they say to you when they repeat the same things over and over and over again. They make you work so hard to get a record to the point where you just give up. Where you wait months and months and months and months and months for stuff and you just never see it. And then magically they just drop it in your lap like it's a gift from heaven and you're supposed to be grateful to them. Oh, thank you, great Lord Bradley, for bequeathing me your guidance and your good health. Come on, man. Like, literally, you're... And I have to fight with these people all the time. So, and, you know, you listen to Bradley's speech, the first one, he's like, well, city council president is not really an elected. I mean, it's an elected position, but it's also an appointed position. And except for in Lorraine, it's an elected position. But and he is really technically like a city official, but he's not really a city official. He just sort of works like one in the fact that he doesn't really like blah fucking blah. I get it, dude. Like he's the boss of the city council meetings. He's the boss of city council. You know, he's not the boss of this guy. Even in that building, he's not the boss of anyone, really, other than the people that are in city council, because those are the only people that swore an oath to be on that council. Now, if you'd have elected me to be city council, you know who would have had to listen to that guy? This guy. But I don't have to. And that's what kind of irked me about Bradley's speech is when I go over, you know, my documents, the ones I have, which are what I sent on the ADA speech stuff, and I look at what I wrote and what he said, it irks me because in his speech, he talks about it. You know, the first one that I sent, I literally brought up the whole being able to move, no more hostile confrontations. And I asked for a written notification that they had received it. And they just blew me off. Now, he's a lawyer. He's supposed to know this stuff. He's the one that always tells me to go to court. Anyway, now, when you look at values and practice in our next section here, that's when enforcement does not match the speech, right? It doesn't. It was bullshit. I mean, this is a perfect time, right? Because this is honestly how Bradley feels about us. Asking, I'm in a public area, bro.
Pretty soon what he's going to do is he's going to say that he can't continue with the meeting because you won't exit.
And that's not my problem. You work for me.
I don't work for you.
You do work for me. I pay taxes. You work for the city of Lorraine. No, there's no agree to disagree, Mayor. Mayor, there's no agree to disagree.
And what they're going to do is they'll just close the meeting.
They'll just close the meeting down.
Bullshit. A bullshit. A bullshit. A bullshit. A bullshit. A bullshit. A bullshit.
That's kind of what I think of that. Because, I mean, let's test the words against the practice. And the simplest question you can ask in any study is, if those are the values, right, where are they applied consistently and where are they not? Because values don't just exist when it's convenient to say them on city council video cameras, right? When you can get up there and try to look pretty for the people in your little suit. Values exist when it's inconvenient to apply them. That's it, folks. It's not about what you do when people are watching. It's about what you do when they're not watching. Selective tolerance is the center of this conversation. Who gets the extended leash, right? And understand you're all under a leash of some sort. Who gets to confront officials without consequence, right? Who gets to get up there and yell and scream and have no consequences like Tia? Who gets to get up there and disrupt without removal? Who gets to speak longer than other people and the rules allow? Who gets a warning instead of a sanction? And then on the other side of it, who gets cut off quickly? Who gets threatened with enforcement? Who gets framed as a problem rather than a participant in a city council meeting that's supposed to be for the people? Inconsistent enforcement is not just bad governance. Under Ohio and federal law, inconsistent enforcement, like they do in Lorraine City Council, is often the evidence used to establish discrimination or retaliation. The reason is obvious. The government can always claim neutral rules. But when the rules are applied unevenly, neutrality will always collapse in on itself, just like Lorraine government does. Now, you look at the principles that are connected to the Ohio Open Meetings Framework. Like, even without turning this into a legal lecture, open meetings are not just about the room being open, right? Oh, the doors are unlocked, come on in, right? No. It's about an ability to have a meaningful participation without arbitrary suppression. When officials talk about values like Bradley, while managing participation through inconsistent tolerance and the same friggin' speech, sit down, shut up, do what you're told, bad dog. I serve my goddamn country. I'm not going to have some fucking punk ass greased up mayor running his fucking stupid mouth to me like that. Like, fuck you. You're not my dad. Who do you think you are, dude? Seriously. Who the fuck do you think you are that you get to tell citizens who employ you, and yes, we do employ you, what to do? You don't. Ever. 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 You talk about respect without knowing what it is. You talk about disability without understanding it. You talk about values without ever having set any or followed any in your entire fucking life other than what lines your pocket. You want to prove it to me? Investigate why Demakia was stumbling around inside a crack house. Tell me when you're going to do something about Ray Carrion yelling at me like a bitch and breaking the law. Tell me when you're going to do something about, oh, we're going to get to that. The fact that your HR and your law department shared more social security numbers with me than a hooker shared syphilis during the 1700s with people. But open meetings aren't just about that room being open, guys. When officials talk about these values, they don't realize that this whole ADA thing that they're discussing and not discussing about the non-compliance in City Hall and disability rights disputes, they often turn to the same question every time. Was the standard applied evenly? Did you do it to everybody? And I've always said that I like that. I like it. If we're all down in the same pile of shit, great. But if there's one dude up on the hill and he's got an umbrella, fuck that guy. He's coming down with us. That's it. As long as we're all in the same boat, guys, I'm all right with that. Come on down. You're the next contestant on the shitholes, right? We all live in Lorraine. It all sucks. We all got to put on our boots and we got to do our thing. But that's not the case. Some of us live in Lorraine and the rest of them live in la fucking land. I mean, just look at their salaries to know. Even if they live in Lorraine, they make it that much money and they live in Lorraine. Good for them. I mean, because I just look at it like, you say, like, tell me when you saw the rules enforced for one person but not another. Think about a time when that happened, and think about it. Hold on to it, because I want you to think about times that's happened in your own life. One of you, maybe you've been at work and somebody's held the favorite person to a different standard. They let them do whatever the fuck they want while they yelled at you. Or, maybe you're at school and your teacher doesn't really like you and she likes this other student better. And you got this rule enforced on you, but when that person did it, nothing happened. That's kind of where we're at. As we roll into our third segment here, which is going to be the one where we talk about a little bit about Sheffield Lake and what's going on over there. We're going to talk about Radiff and Graves and the Levette Triangle. And it is like a Bermuda Triangle with Radcliffe, Graves, and Levesque. And why it's not about personalities, it's about structural conflicts, right? Because this, we're going to slow it down a little bit. We're going to get into the core governance section of this whole thing. We're going to talk about things that we need to be careful talking about and very specific. So we're going to take a quick break here and for station identification, and I'll be right back. When we come back, we're going to talk about how Rocky Radcliffe, who's now the mayor and has been the mayor of Sheffield Lake, but before that, he worked in Lorraine law. We got Joseph Levesque. He also works concurrently in Lorraine Law Department, as well as other city law departments, or has worked in the past, including being like a special prosecutor in Norwalk, I believe. Now, there was a documented discussion and an agenda level action indicating over in Sheffield Lake that they want to put Levesque forward as the new law director in place of Graves. That's just fucking insane. Okay, like not that he's not qualified, because he probably is, but that he thinks he can hold all these different hats. Sooner or later, his neck's going to break under the weight of all those hats he's trying to wear. He can't just be a prosecutor in Lorraine and then go over to Sheffield Lake and be their chief deciding prosecuting officer. So what? You're going to be the one to decide if you prosecute or not there and send it over to Lorraine? Does that mean you have to recuse yourself every time a case comes to Lorraine? And quite frankly, anytime Rocky Radcliffe comes across a Sheffield Lake citizen, he should be recusing himself. But these people don't give a shit, right? They'll put their own voters in jail. Because it only matters in an election year, folks. That being said, we're going to play our first ad segment here. So sit tight and we will be right back. Here at Unplugged with Aaron Knapp, we like to thank our sponsors. We have a few unofficial sponsors tonight, and they are definitely not paid sponsorships. I want to throw out there a big thank you to Joseph Jones and Eric Jones of the Lorraine Daily and the Vermilion Daily. They have a local news page. You should check them out. They do plenty of great work, broadcasting all the news that is the news that you want to have in Lorraine and Lorraine County. So check them out. Also, please, if you need any legal services, feel free to reach out to Robert Gargas. You can find him listed online. He's a fine attorney and comes highly recommended by yours truly. And last but not least, I want to mention D&C Radio. Please make sure you check out one of the up-and-coming internet hip-hop stations and all of their shows. They put on a lot of shows. You have the Never Outdone show. You also have the Eric Bowen show, Speak Up, Speak Out. So please make sure you guys check them out as well if you're looking for your latest and up-to-date hip-hop artistry. Thank you for tuning in. This has been a non-paid sponsorship brought to you by Unplugged with Aaron. Hey there, guys. Welcome back. I appreciate you sitting through that. We're going to get this off the screen real quick. Look at that. There I am again. Hey, take a look right here, guys. Anybody new? Take a look at that. Wait. Gotcha. All right, folks. Here we are, section 3. We're going to get into a little Sheffield Lake, right? Well, actually, it's just as incestual as Aidan Fogel himself, the man, has always said about Sheffield Lake. It's just, what is it? He said, Garen, the ninth ward or whatever he called it. And in reality, that's all Sheffield Lake is. It is another ward of Lorraine. Everything goes from Sheffield Lake goes into Lorraine. Like, if you're a citizen in Sheffield Lake, you get prosecuted in the Muni Court in Lorraine. So the fact that your law director is going to go be a small claims judge or whatever over in Lorraine, which I've already discussed, still is a bad call. And you want to bring Levesque in as your law director, and you also want to bring in your old council person as your finance person. There's a lot of revolving door shit going on there, and you guys better be careful that revolving door don't smack you in the ass on the way out. Because the law director is not just another staff role, right? The law director shapes litigation strategy, settlement postures, ordinance interpretation, and the public records posture. If a city wants to fight, settle, deny, redact, or delay, the law director's influence is usually central. Look no further than Patrick Riley. He's the reason you're in majority of your lawsuits in Lorraine. Well, him and me. You're welcome. I warned you. Hey, that's the public has a right to ask a process questions, though. The moment a named law director appointment appears on the agenda, such as Levesque, right? So my questions would be this. Did they post the position? We all know they didn't. I mean, they kind of did. I guess they announced Graves was leaving. Did they consider any other candidates? We all know they didn't because Rocky Radiff rules that town with a tight-ass fist. I mean, his fist is almost as tight as his forehead is with, and was counsel involved, which I know they weren't. And honestly, which counsel would have been involved? I mean, honestly, he's not going to step down right away, which means you shouldn't even involve current counsel, but your new counsel. And by new counsel, I mean the one you're trying to get rid of through his statement and the one that got elected in Moreau and everything. I mean, changes are happening all over. People are sick of your guys' shit. But did you do the right thing is the bottom line. I know you guys are corporation over there in Sheffield Lake. So I don't know everything about your laws as much as I do Lorraine. Lorraine being statutory, I know Ohio's laws, and I can follow Ohio's laws like a motherfucker. You guys over there in Sheffield Lake, you're kind of on your own with that whole statutory, non-statutory bullshit. You guys are a corporation. You can write whatever you want. That's what makes the law, the mayor's position so deadly is that and dangerous. He can pick and choose whoever he wants. Why do you think he's trying to pick the other person that was counsel that didn't get on counsel to be a finance person, right? Like, these are all strategic moves. They're not in your best interest as the public. They're in his best interest as the mayor and others, his builder buddies, right? Let's not build a bitch. Anyway, so I want to know, most importantly, because apparently now I'm from Wisconsin. Most importantly, I want to know one thing. Did these motherfuckers get an ethics opinion? I mean, Rocky did on his other two ones, and both of them said, you fucking around in some dangerous territory, right? They wouldn't outright say it, but they said it. So I have them. I've proven it. I posted them. I've been writing about these law director guys and these lawyers for a while. For people that are supposed to love the law, they sure as hell don't, or they sure seem to skate around it. It feels like they're about a sneeze away from a felony every second. One slip of the tongue and they're going to be in deep shit. Kind of like the mafia, right? You bring in David Graves now, right? Look at him. The concern here is not really a rumor. The concern's really the structural entanglement, the municipal legal roles that overlap with prosecutions, conflicts, private practice, special prosecutor appointments, relationships across jurisdictions. When those relationships stack up, they start looking like bodies, and the risk is divided loyalty and not necessarily criminality. That's where I always look at this. It's not about criminality always. It's about, look, that's my boy. We all know. Most people would say, it's my boy. Everybody talks about on Facebook, joking, everything's crazy until somebody wants to do some crazy shit, right? Well, that boy that does that crazy shit with you. Imagine these government people or the people that had their boys, they're doing crazy shit together. So damn straight he's got his back. Just like the only thing I respect about these mofos is this is the strongest gang I've ever seen in Lorain City, Lorain County. For Democrats and Republicans, from the commissioners to the mayors to everybody. Every last one of these motherfuckers got each other's backs. I mean, look, Lorraine with a straight face just asked for like $70,000 or whatever to buy 10 new radios for their cop cars. Those same 10 radios are going to be hooked up to the Harris radio system because they're Harris radios, because they didn't have the other cars set up for them when they bought them or whatever, right? All right, great, fine, whatever. Who gives a shit, right? No, those are the CCI radios that we're supposed to be phasing the fuck out. So which is it, guys? Do you not see the problem here? County's feeding city, city's feeding county. It's like one big ass-eating contest, and we're the assholes. And we are. And by we, I mean you and the public and me, not them, the government. Because that's where Ohio Revised Code 102.03. This is why I love Ohio Revised Code, and this is why they hate it, because it's always right, and they're always so fucking wrong, it's not even funny. walking around with 2 left shoes and a bad attitude. But whatever. That's where it becomes relevant as a framework for the whole story, not as a conviction tool, though. But the core idea is that the public position cannot be used to secure improper benefits. Conflicts do not require bad intent. They require incompatible duties. That's why recusal exists, and that's why disclosure exists. And that's why so many people should have recused themselves. Point in case, stupid, but not stupid. So when they were doing the end of session votes for people to retire, and I will say this, I didn't think about it, but Joseph Jones, my esteemed colleague and reporter from not only the Sandusky Register, but Lorraine and Vermilion Daily, who's trying out there his best to cover every one of your stories, and it shows on his stress levels, said, because I was at the last city council meeting, I asked, whose poinsettia is that? I knew what that flower was. Oh, God. Anyway, and he was like, oh, that was for the Chronicle. So I think it was one of the outgoing women had bought, I think it might have been Joanne Moon. I don't know, whoever's leaving had bought this poinsettia for the Chronicle, and they didn't show up. And kind of, I agreed with Joseph in this, in that I didn't have, somebody asked in the meeting thing, they said, why didn't you speak at that meeting? Because that meeting wasn't about me. Say what you will, think what you will about the city council. When they're on those daises, when they're in that room, I hold them accountable to be our leaders. When they're in police cars smoking cigars in parades, I hold them accountable to be our leaders. I will say, side note, ADHD is best. Angel brought up in the last meeting something about, well, we know how to tow cars because we towed all the cars up the parade route. Hey, Angel, all your buddies' cars get towed, bro? Damn, that sucks. I got a message from somebody that said those were all friends of his, and I didn't really believe it. I thought someone was yanking my chain until he mentioned it in city council, talking about his friends getting their cars towed. I mean, that's a little bit of an influence thing there, too, but he couldn't stop him from getting towed. But he's not wrong. We know how to tow cars, so why can't we pull them off the streets? I got my brother's truck off the street. Why can't you guys get your cars off the streets? He's not wrong. I said that. You hear me, guys? Angel Arroyo's right. Get your fucking cars off the street. I don't necessarily like, that he used it as the grandstand about the fact that his friends got their cars towed. But in the grand scheme, he went out riding with the snowplow guy or the street guy or whatever it was. I don't really care about all that story as long as he didn't smoke in the car, because that's legal. But that's why these disclosures exist, right? You go into a meeting. What I was saying about Joanne Moon or whoever it was is that she voted for her own certificate to be awarded to her. And before she voted on it, she didn't. And they said, oh, you didn't vote. She's like, but it's for me. And they're like, you have to vote. And then she voted. Well, nobody's going to hold her accountable for that because it's not really an ethics violation because it's a brownie button, right? But that's why even in the end, it might have been Sylvia Duvall. She's the one that always catches me with the rules. But, in the end, that's why this matters, is that there are rules for a reason. We don't do it sometimes or when it's convenient. We do it all the time for a reason. And I always look like the asshole for holding them accountable to the rules that they don't follow, right? But yet, the second that someone thinks I'm not following one of their rules, I get 2 speeches about me from the mayor and Patrick Horn and anybody else who thinks they have a right to get up and speak. So, Patrick, you support the LGBTQ community, which I do. You support a lot of the same causes I do, but you just hate me and me, the disabled vet, me, the guy who deserves all the rights. Okay, I got you. Cool, whatever. That's the key point, right? Silence is not neutral. Silence allows conflicts to metastasize. Turns into some fucking cancer. That's how cancer grows. You don't talk about it, right? We don't talk about it. We just, hey, look, guys. Like Tucker said the other night on his podcast before he was like, you didn't play with us at Lakewood Park. You're not one of us. You're an outsider. Fuck you, right, Aaron? I know we claim we're the international city and that we welcome everyone and that we want to draw new business and new talent and new people here. But somebody brings their lawful licensed social worker degree to your town from Columbus to work here against all of the wishes of my colleagues in Columbus who were like, ew, I feel sorry for you. So sad. Yeah. They didn't know why I was coming down here to work. But I lived here and I saw that you guys needed it. My daughter said, Daddy, why do we live here? We could, we lived in Avon Lake at one point. She went to Erie View. Now she's in Lorain City School. She went from the top school, performing school in Lorain area county, to the least performing school in Lorain County. And she's still getting straight fucking A's because we have status of doing our work and holding accountability to each other. But we came here because we saw a need. I saw a need. I drug my daughter along for the ride. A posted position. I took it and I enjoyed it. I was working with the government and it was stolen from me by our local city government. But, when we start looking at what Radif is doing over in Sheffield Lake, is he's stacking his deck. He's got Aiden Fogel, who they need out so badly. Because, look, I don't care. I take a lot of shit for supporting him now, even though he's never supported me openly. He did a lot of damage to me in a lot of places, but he was either misled or in the mob mentality with other people. I do recognize people change. I do recognize when you get into a situation. I'm going to open this window. It's hot back here. So by that situation, when you go from being Aiden Fogel, the guy nobody believes in, the guy that's constantly trying to better himself, pick himself up by the boots. I get it. He's done some shitty stuff in his time. Certain people have very big animosity towards him, just like they do me. But why can't we change? Why can you say that, someone can change, someone can better themselves? Why can you say you're Christian, but you don't forgive anyone? My Bible's over there, my Bible's right here. And most of the passages that I have bothered to highlight in my military Bible were about retribution. But let's just say Gen X me is all about retribution. Look, eye for an eye with McCann. But that wasn't vindictive. That was eye for an eye. Chop off my arm, I chop off your arm. That's it. Eye for an eye. But when you look at someone like Aiden, everything he's tried to do, he's come back up and been shit back on. And the night I did talk to him for like 2 hours, that was the night. That's the only reason I forgive him now. Because I know that sometimes people are weak in public eye until they're not. Until one day something changes inside of them and they become someone different. Maybe for me, that change was when he realized what Tia and maybe Heather Chapin, I don't know, because I haven't talked to him, but maybe he realized what they were doing to an individual was wrong. Maybe it takes someone like Amber Bronish coming along telling everyone, look, I get you guys don't like this guy, but what you're doing to him is no different than what they did to my mom. He didn't do this. And so Aiden was the unauthorized source that talked to Chapin, that talked to the chief, that, again, nobody had a clue where this was going. And maybe what he said wasn't as the same as what she said. All I know is it made its way through the ropes, and I was mad about it. But just like with McCann, I always said, if you just give me the apology, I'm good. He gave me the apology, so fuck off. And honestly, his felonies were 20 years ago. And I believe in the justice system, and I believe in our system, and our U.S. Constitution says that if he's found guilty and does his time, then he should be allowed to come back to real life. And I don't care. You guys will say, you got blown out of the election, Aaron. Yeah, I got a little bit more votes, I think, than his opponent did. So that means Aiden blew his opponent out of the water, right? So you can't apply them both ways. So that means Aiden won by a landslide, just like you're saying Arroyo did. Again, I didn't try, but good for Aiden. He said it in the beginning when he was talking shit about me. Aaron can't out hustle me. You're right, bro. For the record, if they don't let you be councilman, if they find a way to fuck you, okay? Here's my deal to you, bro. Nap, well, I'm gonna run for mayor, and then you can just be my campaign manager, because you're right, I can't outwork you. I want to scare everybody. Put that shit combo together. God. But the bottom line is, we all know you're gonna take your seat. This is their last ditch effort, because Graves knew he was leaving. You got to bring someone in to balance the power. You have Moreau and Fogel, and maybe I don't know the dynamics of that council enough, but it seems like maybe Guy is pretty neutral and willing to work, and the others are as well. I feel like the problem isn't the council anymore. I feel like it might have been, and maybe the person Aiden took an opportunity to replace because she made a mistake is the person that also took an opportunity to make Aiden step up and become the person he was always meant to be. And I believe in that more than anything, because we don't find those people within us until it's forced upon us. I mean, I'm literally like a 48-year-old graduate from OSU, so I get it. Sometimes as men, we're boys until we're men, and we don't pick up the reins of our power until we do. But people in that community felt strongly enough about him to put him in office. And the mayor of that community that was voted in by those same people feels strongly enough to tell them to go fuck themselves. Okay, say what you will, right? Now, this is kind of where we're going to roll a little bit into our firearms case that I'm running against Lorraine. Wait, before I do that, I'm just going to say, again, every piece of research I've done, 1,000% says that Levesque should not be the law director of Sheffield Lake. There's revolving door issues. He works with Levesque over in, and Radif work together in the Lorraine prosecutor's office. And then now they're going to work together in Sheffield Lake. As my old buddy used to say, he worked security nighttime at our store. It was a department store. It was being remodeled. And at the time, myself and the security manager were both the loss prevention of this store. So we arrested people for shoplifting. I had just gotten out of the military. But we also worked part-time because it didn't pay a lot over in the Western store. And we liked the discount because it was 40% off. So my buddy Joe, he draws his picture. And he's an artist. He draws characters. Draws a character of my boss and my boss because we worked at both places. And he said, here's the deal. I don't fire Debbie and she don't fire me. That's how ethical conundrums start to happen, right? They start to happen because people know each other through these other relationships. They've served together in other government agency positions. And this is why Lorraine and Sheffield Lake are too close together, too incestual, and they really are the Ninth Ward. And the fact that you think you can put Levesque in there is the biggest load of horse shit I've ever seen in my life, especially while he's being sued by yours truly for private reasons. So let's roll into our firearms case and what it actually stands for, procedure, not spin. We're going to switch to a technical posture because this is where, things get a little weird. In the firearms ordinance litigation, the critical thing to understand is that at this stage, the court's not deciding whether the city of Lorraine or the county or anyone likes the lawsuit, right? The court's only deciding whether the complaint states claims under Ohio pleading standards, right? Again, not giving law advice. I do. Okay, I can't see my arm, but I got all these books back here. I read this shit. Every new case law that comes out, if I don't catch it, Robert, my attorney, catches it. He sends it to me, and then I read it because I'm boring like that. You can't ask me a question about modern television. I couldn't tell you what TV shows are on. The other day, I was making a reference to Ironsides in regards to freaking a certain attorney in this town who was in a chair, thanks to his son. And everybody just looked at me like I was whatever. And I was like, Ironsides, like Ironside attorney? Like, no, nobody. Bueller, Garen's sitting at home going, I remember that show. Listen to me. Yeah, but nobody got me. So I don't watch TV anymore. Every once in a while, I'll get in and maybe watch something while I'm eating because of my ADHD. What I do is I read law. I read constitutional law. That's how I know this stuff. That's why I'm not trying to be a dick. I just am one. Like, I'm just sitting here going, look, this is the law. I only know it. So the allegations taken as true at this stage is all you need. We don't care about that. All you care about is all you need to know is it about, are the allegations true at this stage, right now, what we see? And I'm not giving legal advice, but I am following this because it's my gun case. And I knew it was illegal from the get-go, which is why I hired an attorney. But that matters because governments will often try to frame these lawsuits as drama or fear. But the court doesn't deal in that. We have a Republican judge in Brimkey, and courts deal in pleading standards and legal sufficiency. Now, I don't want to be an a-hole, but I am. And I don't want to mock, but I probably will. I don't want to insult, but it may sound that way and it may come off this way, but it's really not personal. But apparently it was a strategic decision by the city, apparently, about resource allocation and posture, right? So they assigned their newest baby attorney, Scott Bowles, to the case. And mind you, I'm going to tell you a story in a minute, but we're going to talk about this first. So when a government assigns a less experienced attorney to a constitutional case, right, it can signal that the defense posture is procedural rather than substantive. So basically, the city's confidence level or priorities. It's not a guarantee, but it's observable. It's a chess move, right? One of the first moves you make out the gate. Now, the stakes of this, I get it. People, they want safety, they want security, they want to feel safe with this gun law. But this gun law doesn't do that. It elevates a couple of crimes that revolve around carrying the vehicle in a vehicle, right? That's it. And then it goes to a little bit of concealed carry laws and your licensure. And then the third part that I need to really go back and look because I'm not the lawyer, but I believe from what I've done in my further research, the lesser part, but more importantly, a part of it is that I believe the city's relying on an older law that was already repealed in regards to concealed carry and how you have your hands and all these different things. I believe they repealed that in 2021. And it kind of goes to the point of when I talk about Lorain City's lawyers, their government, the Levesques, the Rileys. Really, if you're going to pick somebody, honestly, out of all of these lawyers that I've met, Levesque's the youngest. Levesque, Radif even is the youngest, but he's too brash. Maybe somebody from the Gambora, Pecora. Well, I think Pecora's over in Amherst. And you know why I know someone like Pecora is good at being a law director? Because nobody knows who the fuck he is. Simple as that. If you as the public should probably never know who your city law director is. The fact that we know who they are in Lorain is because they're constantly called upon to make questions. And in my opinion, which again matters not because I'm not a lawyer, but in my opinion, what they're doing typically draws questions. And I may not be a lawyer, but a lot of people are encouraging me to go to law school. So the stakes really are constitutionality. Ordinances that alter criminal exposure are not abstract. It's no different than and again, I go both ways, but no different than this marijuana law the Republicans want to pass, and I'm a Republican. They're changing the will of the people. In this case, they actually have an ability to do so because they don't have a 9.68 blocking them, and other states have changed the way you can transport marijuana as part of the rule, and they said you can't smoke it in public because they can't drink in public. But it's similar to that, and that idea is that it affects real people. It affects you, it affects me, it affects anyone that concealed carries or openly carries, how they can carry in their car. And Ohio just became an open constitutional carry state. And there's another law getting ready to pass that might even open our state up to more open gun laws. If anyone had a better reason to ask why I say I'm Republican, it's not because of my belief structure, because the majority of my belief structures probably side a lot with the Democrats in a lot of areas because I am a social worker and I do believe in social services to an extent. The difference between me and them is I'm in the middle. I believe in giving shit away, just not a lot. I believe in helping people, but just helping them up as a hand up, not a handout. I don't want to prop people up as much as I want to lift them up to a status where they can become better than. And by better than, I mean better than the person they were the day before, not better than anyone else. So take that for what you will. But that's why this case matters. And the gun law thing is when officials try to dismiss them publicly just out of whatever, they don't really allow for the constitutional argument to take place. Now, I want you to understand something. I'm passionate about this case for a reason. Probably shouldn't say this. I don't conceal carry personally anymore. I don't carry my weapon on me. Do I carry it to a fire range to qualify? Yes. Or to stay familiar? Absolutely. Do I publicly transport my weapons? Yes. As a social worker, I don't feel the urge to carry a firearm. And if I get killed, then that was my destiny. But if I'm preaching peace, I can't carry weapons. That doesn't make me not a defendant. The other two individuals in this are full-on firearm, not only believers, carriers, concealed carriers. That's Garen and my brother. And, I'd say between the two of them, they probably got, well, let's just not discuss. All I can say is this. They got more of a right to carry than just the same right to carry as anyone else in the United States of America. And that's what I stick on. Everyone wants to argue. I've read the Constitution 1,000 times. There's nothing in there that says hunting, fishing, and anything else. It's about being able to protect yourselves from either our government or foreign entities that may try to take over our country. And I know everybody thinks that's crazy, but look around you. For all your bluster, look around you. That could happen. So when I see, and yes, I've had my issues with Lorraine. And sure, I want to win. Yes, I want to win. Fuck yeah, I want to win. I want to win this gun case. Because they're wrong. And the level of wrongness offends me. Because, again, I'm in constant communication with Buckeye Firearms, the people that brought the case against Columbus. I've read the Clyde. I've read the one in Toledo, like all of these different gun laws, all over Ohio, even smaller ones. No matter what, every single one of them slapped down like the bitch-ass laws that they were. Like some bitch-ass Democrat. Oh, we need to get rid of guns because they kill people. No, fuckers, people kill people. My gun's never unlocked itself from the gun safe, loaded itself, walked down the street, laid a couple into somebody, and then crawled back into comfy bed and fucking gone to sleep, right? Eat it. Just doesn't happen. And again, as a social worker, I agree. Guns do cause harm. The statistics are there. But no more harm than a car, than drugs, than alcohol. All these things are dangerous in the hands of one thing, right? And it's not bears, even though women would rather be with them in the woods, right? Y'all love that one. You're always like, hey, I mean, this is a typical woman thought, right? She's like, she's a bear, she's all.
Can I pet that dog?
No,
Can I pet that dog? Can I pet that dog?
No.
Can I pet that dog?
Can I pet that dog?
No,
Can I pet that dog?
That's what I'm saying, folks. So, yes, we all have a right to carry and own and protect your castle. Trust me on this fact. I'm not trying to hurt anyone in public. I'm not going to fight back when you try to fight me in public. But if you come to my property and you come at me and my family, I will protect them at the expense of my own life for all I care. But that's the way it works. That's why I believe in it. I believe in the ability to protect yourself, not only from your government, but from those forces that would cause injury to you, from the perverts who want to park in front of your house after the guy running for the council seat spot calls you a racist. And then he himself breaks the law smoking inside people's fucking police cars. And again, you did it. And look, I like Miguel Baez. I love him, right? I think he's an awesome officer. I think he does great work for our kids. Do me a favor, Angel. Don't ever involve him in one of your criminal acts again. You want to go be a snarky little bitch and smoke cigars in front of people, go to the cigar bar and do it. Don't do it in city vehicles because it's a violation of the ORC. And I get it. Aaron, you're a nitpicker. Yep. Same nitpicker that gets nitpicked at every city council meeting. The same nitpicker that people like Patrick Horn will say, does this, does that. The same person that, Tia will get up and be like, no, they need to know. Like, I mean, like, I'm the guy that literally people show up at city council meetings to talk shit about.
I just want to remind people that your voice does matter. And
It
people like
does.
that
Me.
should not be in office, in my most humble opinion. He just gets up here and bashes a damn former chief.
Are you going to address the council or me?
So anyways, I'm going to finish my sentence. I don't have to be here anymore. And I have a right.
Thank God.
He is, in my most humble opinion,
Humble
a
opinion.
piece of shit.
Shit.
The city's already no.
They need to know.
He causes trouble. He's a fucking
He causes trouble, dude. Fucking who? No. This is what I deal with on the fucking regular. Bunch of cry ass babies. I'm sure, everybody's going to get on other podcasts and be like, whatever. Most proudest moment in my life was when Tucker and again, would never put his likeness online because that would be an improper use of his intellectual property. But he and Katie Beyer mentioned that they thought I was the real reason Chief McCann got fired. And I was, because again, no one was talking about Middlebrooks until Middlebrooks' friends and family sent me the paperwork. Because obviously he didn't. And everybody thinks cops would work with me, please. Even Baez will shake my hand and talk to me, but he never worked with me. You guys act like they're slipping me shit. Everything I got about what went down with Baez, I got from the school because the school was so mad at what they did to him. Just like everything I got about public records that we're going to talk about later came from that. But hey, in the grand scheme of things, they sent this motion for us on the gun law, asking to dismiss it, saying that we don't hold status as citizens of Lorain County to bring it. We don't have cause. And these are the kind of things that they do early on to throw lawsuits out every single time. They'll be like, he doesn't have standing. He doesn't have cause. He doesn't state a claim on which a decision can be ruled on. And what these are is bullshit legal answers to stop something before it starts because they don't want to face the real question, which is 9.68, which is why they sent Bitch Boy, the first year tier lawyer, up there to fight us. I joke because when I was representing my daughter myself in court in Idaho over a decade-long period where I was my own lawyer, there was a day where I went into and again, if McCann just checked this out, he went, no, he started calling me a vexatious litigant or requester. He got it from Idaho. They claimed I was a vexatious litigant, someone that sues God, right? Or sues over God. So I would sue the government saying you can't put in God we trust on money because it insinuates God exists. I'm not saying that's not true. I'm just saying I wouldn't sue over it. I'm not going to go to that much trouble. I sued because they told me to, not because it said God. But James went on this tirade about, and he even said it in a letter. I mean, look, if you want me to believe someone with 2.6 GPA knew what the word vexatious meant, let alone how to spell it, no. So I became a vexatious litigant for 5 minutes because this other lawyer brought it against me. He hated my guts so bad because he couldn't beat me, just like these Levex and Lee Prus. And he told a judge that one day. Well, I would, Your Honor, if I could get any judge to shut this guy down. And the judge was like, well, he's not a lawyer. And he's kicking your ass, basically. He didn't say that, but that's what it boiled down to. And that's what I did. So in that meeting, it was the second vexatious litigant here. And I already won the first one. He knew I was going to win the second one, but he called it just to be a dick. So I showed up, but he didn't. So it'd be like if Riley brought the first one, but in the second one, instead of showing up, he sent his honor. The guy said he was B team. The lawyer shows up and goes, well, Your Honor, I'm B team. I'm really playing catch up on this case. So you're at a regional level court where you're trying to find a defendant guilty of something that will take away his rights to petition the government. And you're calling yourself fucking B team. Even when I am B team, I'm A team. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, so that's who Bowles is in this point. I feel like I've seen him a couple of times in my emails. And once I realized he was the one doing it, that's when I realized where they're at. They view this right now as just a statutory thing. They're going to try to blow it off at the county level and say we don't have standing. But I'm pretty sure Riley wrote it, but he's wrong. Okay, what they did, and if Riley wrote it, I'm sad. If Bowles wrote it, I'm actually proud of his thinking outside the box because attorneys don't usually do that. This is why I beat so many of the cases that I was dealing with in my daughter's custody case. Well, so many of the situations in Idaho is because people think linearly in legal terms only, and I think outside the box. I look at what the law is supposed to be. In this case, I looked at the guy and said, look, Your Honor, there's 16 other cases here that have already been dismissed by this court. That's what he's trying to bring today, along with these other now, too. Well, I had gotten a lawyer's opinion in the second one, and the law stated that as long as you had that, you were good. And in Idaho, as in any state, there's only about 16 to 20 people on the Supreme Court's vexatious litigant list. Go look it up. In Ohio, it's the same. And that's, like I said, people that are crazy. They're just fucking nuts. They sue over everything, right? Sometimes, and a lot of times, it's lawyers. It's lawyers that will bring suit after suit after suit with no legal grounds. You can qualify that by getting another lawyer to tell you that you have legal grounds to bring the case. That's it. So he tries to bring this vexatious litigant against me, and I'm like, oh my God. So I beat B Team. It's a long story short. I beat B Team. I kicked his ass, and he slunk home. But that's who they're sending up against me now. I'm just shocked. I sent the information to Buckeye Firearms, who's following the case. Again, like, we're supported. I know they don't think we are, but we have a national ADA a national gun organization, nonprofit gun organization behind us, who brought the last suit in Ohio and is winning in Ohio, in Columbus. And our suit is matched to their suit, and they support us. And the reason why Knowles or Bowles and technically Riley are using this out is because when you read the case law in Ohio, in one of the cases, Buckeye Firearms, I believe it was, that's the people that are followers. They brought a case. It might have been in the Columbus one. Initially, there was an argument. I don't know how they got around it because I didn't really dig too deep into that. But the argument was, they said, we're a nonprofit that represents firearms groups. That gives us the right legally to bring any firearm lawsuit we want to challenge the law. What the courts found was, I think, again, I read it once. All right. Cut me some slack here. My recall's a little off on this one because I only read it once. Usually I read things 5 or 6 times before I get them down. What I saw was they kicked it to the curb because they said, I believe almost to a T, was Buckeye Firearms argued, we are a nonprofit firearms organization dedicated to the defense of unconstitutional firearms laws and or ordinances that violate federal law as well as state law. Something to that effect. I could be off by a word or two. And the courts found that simply just being a nonprofit that does that doesn't automatically give them standing ground to challenge the law. Now, the part I didn't get into that I probably should is how they got around that, because they obviously did, because the case is in court. But that was the original argument of standing. And that standing argument, while one, I think, was eventually overturned in other areas, but that's the argument they're using here in Lorain. And they do that a lot. The gun ordinance themselves has an earlier 2021 ordinance in it that if Riley had looked, he probably wouldn't have caught because he's versed on old case law, but his new guy might have caught it. And so again, the gun law is moving along as it should. We're going to be filing our response to their response for a dismissal, which was weak as shit. I'm just going to say it. It's on the court record, so it's public record. I can talk about it, and I will. Every step of the way, I'll talk about every weak-ass filing they file. I don't know what law school this guy went to, but I'm assuming it was Cleveland State, considering that OSU produces better people. But whatever. I'm sorry, I didn't say that out loud, did I? I did. Oh, well. OH. ADA obligations are not optional, though, folks. We're going to get under Section 5. They don't expire when officials get uncomfortable, right? This is where we're going to start talking about the ADA rights a little bit, how they get drowned out by emotion. Now, under Title II of any public entity receives notice of a disability, which is what I sent them, a request for accommodation, it has an affirmative duty to engage. Well, that means the city must interact in some form of good faith. Get back to me, let me know. Must consider the reasonable modifications that I'm asking for. It's got to avoid any policies that screen out disabled participation. Ignoring a request is not neutrality, which they did, and ignoring a request is actually a failure. They ignored me for over a year. September to September, October, November, December, end of November. So 12, 14 months for somebody that likes to say that their child's still under 1 when they're actually over. The pattern I documented matters because it shows that this is what happens when notice is given, accommodations are not engaged consistently. Even though the city of Lorain says they respect disability accommodations, they don't respect them. Requests get made, notice is given, responses that do not resolve the barrier, right? escalations that predictably follow, speeches about just shut up and sit down, Aaron. Just do what you're fucking told, Aaron. Why can't you just listen, Aaron? Why do you sound like my mom? Sorry, play it. Now comes along Jay Short. He's part of the enforcement chain. He is now assisting. He's messed with them before. I should say he's challenged them before and come out on the winning side. People become relevant in ADA claims when they participate in the Enforcement Act, right? When they perpetuate barriers or refuse to act without after being given notice. Well, then we tie it back to his value speech. His inclusion of that is not a slogan. It's a statutory duty. Cities do not get to celebrate inclusion rhetorically whilst making disabled participation practically fucking impossible. That's just ridiculous. I mean, that's not what reasonable accommodation looks like in meetings. That's why I gave them the notice, and what happened after was ridiculous. I begged them to stop. I begged them to stop yelling at me. I'm still not sure today what set Ray off so fucking bad in that moment that he had to yell at me when Tia Hilton was able to get there and cuss the whole world out, me included, and he said not a fucking word. But okay, whatever. So now we're in our section on public records, and this one gets a little hanky. And before I start, I am going to do one more little quick ad section, but I want to get into this really quick because this isn't about opinion. This particular part is about fact and fiction. And we talk about Radif tonight. We're going to talk about several other people whose names pop up, but Lorain City, and I'm breaking this right now because I'm going to write a story about it later, but we have a problem in Lorain City. The problem happens to be that we like to give away people's socials, their information, right? You guys look at the data breach they had back 8 years ago, 2002, whatever it was, I guess, a long time ago, with Shaver and the metadata, right? Then you look at what happened with Lorain County recently. And there was a suggestion by Sensei Cobra that maybe that was staged, but records after records after records are being released without proper redaction. Now, I mentioned my roots in Idaho earlier because my custody case also has come into a lot of redaction issues that I had to focus on, especially as a social worker over in Lorain. In Idaho. Well, before I became a social worker, correcting that within the social services network of Idaho, making sure they were following redaction laws. So we're going to get into a records issue here that has to be, I have to be deliberate about this because what I'm describing is a victimization of some people, but I'm trying not to compound it, right? The people whose socials have been released to me and addresses and identities and all these things are people who I'm obviously questioning in public. So imagine you're questioning the chief of police and his ability to do all this stuff, and you ask for his personnel file, and HR sends it to the legal department, this 4 doctorates, and Zaleski sends it on out, signed off as good, and then you realize he gave you McCann's social security number. No. Aaron doesn't want James McCann's social security number. Because while I may want retribution, and not even retribution, eye for an eye, right? We said it wasn't retribution. I want equal, no matter what it is. I lost a job and reputation. You lose a job, reputation. We both start over. Man for man, eye for eye, right? Cool. But when they keep sending me his social and other people's socials, and it's almost like a test. It's like God or someone saying, Aaron, what are you going to do here? Are you going to release it? Because Ohio law states that if I don't see it, I can release it and I'm not held reliable because it's the releaser's responsibility to redact. Now, if I knew it was there, I had to say something. And I knew it was there because I'm not a dick. I read everything. So I saw it was there. Shit. Actually, no, I guess I am a dick because I did miss it. It was buried deep within. They got a few of them. They missed one, and someone pointed it out to me when I posted online. I deleted it. And then I told Lori Kukowski that it was wrong, and I asked for another copy of the personnel file, which to date I've never received over a year ago. I notified them that I was released it. I told Mr. Morris, Captain Morris. Captain Morris even called me and said, hey, man, I think that's pretty mighty white of you, right? Like, considering what he's done to you, considering everything the fact that you would call in and say, hey, they gave me a social. I'm not that dude. I'm not going to commit a crime because one was committed against me. Ever. So I called and said, hey, they gave me a social. And I didn't think anything more of it. They took care of it. They let him know. I just said, hey, you guys have to give him the same protection you gave back when Chava released the metadata. Watch their credit. I didn't think it was going to become a problem later. But under the Ohio Public Records Act, under 149.43 and 43G, my favorite number in the world, we start with presumption. Records documenting government business are public. But the same law recognizes that certain information must be protected. Redaction is not optional where protected information exists, and sloppy disclosure is not transparency. Sloppy disclosure is negligence, right? So this is where we look at the categories, right, of the people. They've released juveniles in the Hildreth case, police officers in that they released, we have Officer Urban's driver's license number. We have Chief McCann's social. We have Sergeant, now Patrolman Rivera's home address. We have private citizens' addresses, mine included, sensitive identifiers, all kinds of different ones from date of birth to all these different things. And again, not a lot of this is really protected personal information, but some of it is. Most of it is definitely protected and shouldn't be disclosed or should have been redacted. Like social security numbers, like home addresses of law enforcement. And it matters because improper disclosure creates victims even when disclosure was not malicious. Harm does not require intent. Harm requires exposure. So I didn't mean to ask for that, and I didn't ask for it. They didn't necessarily mean to send it, and the person whose stuff was exposed didn't expose it. But, you know, I'm gonna talk about some names, but I'm not doing it to like show the documents. I'm gonna say the names. It's more accountability, not a spectacle. And I'm doing it because they were put at risk and they needed to know. And systems failed them because public offices have statutory redaction obligations. Now, I'm gonna make a deeper report later. I'm gonna be putting it online. I've gone through that. I'm looking at not now just the cities, but the counties' records and how they've redacted everything. The county seems to be better at it than the city. There were some documents. I'm going to call one out right now. So I got Tim Williams' file, the assistant safety director, because he was standing in front of us like a jackass in that meeting and just, I'm mad. I'm Tim Williams. I'm mad. Anyway, you really want to be mad, Tim Williams? So they send me your entire personnel file, and it looks like they scratched it out with a black marker. The only problem is when you scan that shit, guess what I can see? Everything. I can see your address, your social, your phone number, and everything you've ever done. You're welcome. Lori Kukowski sent that to legal, and the law department, Zaleski, signed off on sending out your personal information to me. And I can read it all. I went back and found that today. That's my first find, the one that I'm not reporting, that I'm just reporting for the first time tonight. You guys are the first ones to hear it. So yes, the city released Tim Williams, assistant safety director's entire personnel file to me, basically unredacted. I can't share it, nor would I, because that would be legally irresponsible of me. I am reporting it out loud now, so you guys hear it, because I'm going to report it to the auditor's office, because I'm done reporting it to the city, because the city doesn't listen. I reported it a year ago when they did it with McCann, and they did nothing. I don't even put in tonight's story, I didn't think about it to put in there, that they did it with Middlebrooks. When they sent me Middlebrooks' file, they sent me his EEOC complaint along with the code to access it. This is the most inept group of individuals with redaction I've ever seen since Idaho. And again, I bring that up because I had to correct them on redaction multiple times in Idaho. Like I was dealing with the second highest person in CPS in Idaho named Roxanne Prince. You can go look her up. She's still there. And she had to put a supervisor on redaction duty and then on mail duty because they got to the point where they couldn't send it out via email because they kept fucking up. So they started sending out via paper mail, right? They had to use fucking stamps. And someone still screwed up and sent me my ex's husband's record thing that he was supposed to get on my daughter, not me, giving me information I wasn't supposed to have. Now, you might think that's not a big deal, but that puts the receiver at risk as much as the person getting, not receiving it, right? The person whose information is being unredacted. I don't want McCann's information any more than he wants me to have it. If I were a vindictive asshole, can you imagine what I could do with this knowledge? I could not have told them, not tell you right now. I could send all of Tim's information out there to the world. I'm not a dick like that. I don't do that kind of shit. That's what your city government does. They go after your license. That's what Tia Hilton does, right? She calls up your CDCA board. She talks shit about you. She tells people that you're a mayor, but you blow coke off hookers' asses, and that Aaron somehow, who's poor because he doesn't have a job, somehow paid off a sitting sheriff to fucking back him up on some bullshit that she's talking about that's not even true. I never threatened Jack. If I said fuck around and find out, it wasn't to Jack Hall. If I was talking to Jack Hall, it was most likely about you, and I was saying fuck around and find out, like, because you guys keep doing it. And, you know, just like you did with court. You fucked around and found out. You brought in your attorney and you lost. Fuck around, find out. That doesn't insinuate violence. And you only heard one part of the conversation because Jack was never on my podcast. Say what you will. I may not like the guy right now because I have disagreements with him, but that conversation you're talking about that you think happened didn't happen the way you did. And in your own delusional little fucking short stack mind, that's what you think happened. But get this to your head, Tia. Very few people like you, and the ones that do tolerate you are only tolerating you because you got dirt on them. Real people see through your bullshit real quick. I mean, dude, seriously, Aiden Fogel, he separated. I know a lot of other people that did. I won't call anybody else out, but you guys were in cahoots for a little while. The detailed story that I'm going to put out on all this, though, is document driven. So I don't want to give too much of it away. Of these people that I am trying to protect. But so imagine we've got, I've been given records on Urban. I've been given multiple records on different accident files. So even though that they're no longer, in some cases, alive, like the elder Judge Ewers, I have his home address. Firefighter, now City Councilman Dorwall, I have his address at the time that he hit Ewers. I have Rocky Raddiff's social security number. That was just recently given out to Garen by City Council or City Hall, Lorraine, who sent it through legal, who gave it to Garen, who sent it to me. And I was looking through it and I realized that they had left his social exposed. Then I go back and I go, well, shit, if they did it here where it's not properly redacted because it's not exposed, you can see it through the writing. So I said, well, how many other times they've done that? I didn't pay attention. So I went back and started looking. Then I found it again in Safety Service Williams, Tim Williams. Then I found it in other documents and other reports. And I found it in accident reports. And I found driver's license numbers and information from when Urban hit a fence. And his driver's license was in there. And it's like Idaho all over again. People sending me social security numbers of my ex and my ex's husband when we were at odds. And if something had happened, it would have looked like I did something. I don't want that burden, which is why I called them and told them the second I got James's, and Morris called me and Morris said, hey man, that's good looking out. Like, that, yeah, I get it. Any other person would have fucked you with that info. Not me. I don't need any more reasons to go to hell. Not any. I'm trying to get into heaven, not into hell. So no, I'm not going to go do dumb shit like that. I'm not going to, if you didn't do it, I'm not going to throw you under the bus for doing something you didn't do. That's not right. That's what they did to Amber's mom. And I'm not going to let them do it to me. But, you can go through the redaction categories and look. There's a matrix. There's usually programs that will do this. Not little black felt tip markers that they're using over there in freaking records land of Lorraine. Now, I'm going to kind of fall into a little bit on the sheriff's department here. Is like, I made a records request recently for Amber and for some other information. But sometimes the most important public record is not the document that I asked for. It's the denial letter that explains why I can't have it. And that's where I start every base argument with all these public officials. It's not a personal dispute. It never is. It's not a technical squabble. It's how public records cases are built, right? They do their move, I do my move. It's like any chess game. Dispute starts with a very specific statement, right? Lorraine County prosecutor, you send it in writing. The prosecutor's referenced. I asked him for a packet talking about what he was sending in regards to JD, what he was sending in regards to Amber's mom, Nancy, and a lengthy, I referenced the packet and a lengthy affidavit with numerous attachments and records. And I stated that the sheriff could scan and email it to the attorney general, all this stuff, right? That sentence matters because it created a trail. Actually, I apologize. I found this in an email where the prosecutor referenced all this after he mentioned to the Chronicle in a gift story that they had asked for a special prosecutor. This is where I start, and this is why it's so important, because I do these trails. So the single sentence matters because it creates that trail. It starts it right there. You got a sheriff, scan the document, he emailed something happened. There was a transaction of records, scan logs, device audit trails, email, metadata, attachments, transmittal messages, error messages if it came back, internal routing. Even if the underlying investigation is protected content, the act of handling and transmitting that government material is still government business, and those records documenting that handling are presumptively public. That's what I asked for. And under RC 149.43, you'll get used to that number, especially G, the law does not distinguish between glamorous records and boring ones. Logs count, metadata counts, emails count. They don't want it to count because maybe they're just too technologically unsound to understand these things exist. That's why they didn't know that all the metadata showing everyone's information was being sent out when Shaver sent it out in 2000, whatever, 2 or 12. They're technologically uneducated. This is why I'm able to do most of what I do. It's because I've stayed sound in my computer skills. And I grew up in Silicon Valley. And I built computers. So I understand the way they work. I understand the way you search them. I understand programming. And I know what they're doing and doing wrong most of the time. That's why I know City Hall's email streams messed up by internet. But look at the sheriff's response language when he sent it to me, because that's where the legal problem starts. He didn't send it, but Allison Janiscura, his records clerk, who is basically getting her speech from Mr. Nietzsche, the sheriff's fake civil lawyer. They write things like, "We are uncertain what you are requesting." You fucking break. You're not. Overly broad. Clears confidential law enforcement investigatory records. We've heard this many times. These phrases show up repeatedly in these public records requests and litigation in Ohio because they are convenient, they're easy, and they're often misapplied. If an office claims uncertainty, Ohio law does not permit a reflexive denial and a shrug. That's under 149.43B, Section 2. Look it up. It requires the office to provide information about how the records are maintained and accessed so the requester can revise and properly target the request. The statute anticipates this ambiguity and it resolves it through cooperation, not through being a stonewalling little bitch like Allison, Jan Skura wants to be, and Mr. Nietzsche wants to be by proxy. I'll sue anybody that's slanders my sheriff. Fuck you, Nietzsche. You're a douche nozzle, bro. And you don't even hold real statutory authority in the eyes of the ORC. You're just a douchebag sitting in a douchebag position that was created for a douchebag. And again, if you were going to give out douchebag jobs with douchebag salaries, the least you could have done was give one to this douchebag who apparently is a douchebag and supported your bitch ass. And I'm the only one that got zero fucking shit out of it other than I thought I was getting a lawful sheriff who'd do an investigation, but I was wrong. Anyway, let's talk about CLEARS correctly. Confidential Law Enforcement Investigatory Records. CLEIRS. Confidential Law Enforcement Investigatory Confidential Law Enforcement, LE. I is the investigatory and R is the records. And then a small s. It refers to the confidential law enforcement records under RC 149.43A1H. But the statute is not a magical wand, right? Investigatory records are not automatically confidential. Like, that's like saying, well, we can't have you know when we pat people down. Well, fuck off. Everyone knows that. It's in TV. It's common knowledge. It's confidential only to the extent that the release would create a high probability of revealing specific protected categories, like maybe the identity of an uncharged suspect, which they overuse a lot, a confidential source, a specific investigatory technique. Like, typically we stick our hands 2 fingers deep in the anus when we really want to torture them and not 3. Administrative records that are showing who scanned something, right? When it was scanned, where it was emailed. They don't inherently reveal any of those protected categories, and yet that's what Allison Janskira responded with. This is the same young lady who would give me records carte blanche, apparently with no redactions, when I was still thought to be friendly with the sheriff. Back when Commissioner Gordon still gave me full access. But hey, then we get to the most important part. The sheriff's office responded to my Section 5. And all I said in Section 5 was to restate the statutory redaction obligations. That under a denial, you had to say this, this, and this. And by saying it was not a records request, they had no obligation to follow or acknowledge it. That's what they said. This is not a records request. We have no obligation to follow or acknowledge it. Fuck off, Allison. Are you that stupid that you don't know what a fucking law is? The ORC literally states that's the statutory obligations of your office. And I didn't even ask you. I made a statement. I said, this is the statutory obligation. Please respond as such. And your response from the sheriff, Fancy Jack Hall's office, said, not a request, no obligation to follow or acknowledge it. That's legally wrong. You're full of shit. Section 5 was not a request for new records. It was a restatement of mandatory requirements under RC 149.43b3, governing how a denial or redaction must be explained. When a public office withholds records, the statute requires identification of what was withheld. An exact exemption relied upon narrow redaction when possible or where possible, and the legal authority supporting that withholding. Those duties are automatic. A public office cannot just opt out by declaring them optional, or we don't see these. That explains, and then they say, well, you have to explain why. As such, these do not exist. When they say shit like that, it's a red flag when it immediately follows a refusal to search. Under Ohio law, an office can conclude records do not exist only after a reasonable search. Declaring non-existence as a substitute for referencing or refusing to search is exactly the sort of wording that becomes an exhibit later, and it will. Finally, I narrowed this shit repeatedly for them. I limited the date ranges. I limited the custodians. I limited the search terms. I brought it down to the bare minimum, bare bones of everything. I did their job for them to eliminate any burden on their part. And at that point, the dispute no longer was about burden. It was about compliance. They had to do it. And they just chose not to. And that's what they do a lot. They don't give a shit. I mean, it sucks to know that you call your government for help and they just don't give a fuck. Someone like Bradley will say, see something, say something, but when you do, he'll literally bend you over and fuck you in the asshole. I mean, I get why Patrick Horn likes him so much. But in the grand scheme of things, when you start looking at the denials, the tones, the way these people look at things, the way they look at us, the citizens, the fact that I can get the same response out of Lee Prue and now Janskira and Nietzsche and all these people that sound alike, and then I go down to the city level and I get the same responses from Democrats and Republicans, the same blocking language, the same ignorant-ass bullshit that's been going on in Lorraine for decades, and you guys just blindly sit by and let it happen. I'm starting to believe you deserve what you get. Because in the grand scheme of things, you're right. I am a fucking outsider. And I can pack up and leave to my 10 acres anytime I want out of state. I'm here because I choose to be, and I choose to make Lorraine a better place for my daughter who's probably going to stay here. I choose not to listen to your bullshit. I choose not to listen to your naysaying. And I choose not to listen to the old school motherfuckers who have destroyed your city and left this place a shithole for my fucking kid. I don't give a fuck about Angel riding around in goddamn street cars. I don't give a fuck if he wants to smoke his cigars in his cop cars. I don't care if he wants to go suck balls behind fucking the Speedy Mart. None of what he does bothers me, or do I care until it affects me and my kid. Or what he doesn't do. He's out here worrying about, I'm going to get this law for, curfew in. Oh, while he's in another state and can't bother with it. You guys act like you're doing shit for us, but you're not. You're doing it to make yourself look good. And that's the problem I have. What I really want to see from you people is some real actions, following your own rules while you're calling us out for not following your rules. When we're asking you to follow the fucking ORC. Well, that brings us to our closing tonight. It's getting a little late, folks. And we're almost at the 2-hour mark, which I do try to cut it off there at minimum at 1 hour, 2 hour. But I'm going to close the same way I open this shit. Values mean nothing if they're not applied under pressure. Transparency means nothing if records are mishandled, weaponized, or denied without lawful explanation. And inclusion means nothing if disability rights are treated as an inconvenience by our mayor. And I know some of our new council people, I'm not going to mention them because they have done nothing right or wrong yet because they're not in office, said, I didn't know you were disabled. You're not supposed to know. You don't need to know unless I tell you. And I only told them because I wanted accommodation. And I gave them all of my disability, which I'm not required by law to do, and they still fucked me. So I do have someone representing me who's an ADA disability rights person who's taking on my case, and they're going to deal with this. And when the city of Lorraine gets probably sued one more time by yours truly, you can be mad at me or you cannot be mad at me. It's not going to get me any money. It's going to get my lawyer a shit ton of money, just like the gun suit will. These aren't making me money. These make the attorneys money. There's no monetary claim for Aaron in the gun law. There's no monetary claim for Aaron in the ADA law. There's a set of results. In the gun law, I get to carry my gun lawfully. In the ADA law, I get to come to city council meetings without being harassed by Ray Carrion. I mean, you guys wanted to be your next mayor? This prick, this self-righteous prick couldn't even hold his fucking dick in place long enough to not yell at a disabled vet who was just mumbling in the fucking audience. You're such a fucking narcissistic prick that you believe you matter more than God in itself, that you need to yell at a citizen. And I've said it 1,000 times. We're not subject to city council rules, regardless of what Patrick Horn's cocksucking ass wants to fucking say. We're not. There's zero chance that a citizen is held accountable to that. And by listing my name in every one of those things, and honestly, every time they've ever listed a citizen name who wasn't recognized by the chair, they broke the fucking law. Stop breaking the law. Stop being douchebags. Stop making me call you out for dumb shit. And yes, you are my hobby. And no, I'm not going away. And yes, you can thank McCann and Joelle and all of your own piss poor choices and behaviors for it. Mary, you can throw a hissy fit and storm out of council meetings like a little crybaby on other occasions. You can go comfort Ray. You can untie Demakia's shoes and pet his shoes. You can be seen in J.D. Tomlinson's shirt in a picture with him online. You can side with one side or the other. You can call Garen a weirdo. You can say, I'm going to come confront you somewhere. Oh, my God. Then you can accuse us of hating women. We don't hate women. We just hate you. That's completely different because you're nonsensical and you're all about Mary, and you always have been. And it's clear in everything you do. If Mary doesn't get her way, Mary throws a fit and storms out. So when I don't want to leave the building, I'm a problem. But when you want to be a bitch, you can just storm out like no one's business and no one's supposed to give a shit. You can funnel information to your little cohorts and Tia and fucking Lorraine Ritchie and no one cares. Don't think I don't see your bullshit. Don't think I don't see you trying to win daddy's love who still owes $20,000 in back taxes to the city of Lorraine. I don't hear you paying that back or talking about that, right? Being let his bitch ass back there behind the fucking sacred circle while you charge Garen? You guys are ridiculous. Transparency will mean nothing if records are mishandled, weaponized, or denied without lawful explanation. Inclusion means nothing if disability rights are treated as an inconvenience. And that's part of the whole evidentiary trail. These live streams that they put out, they're transcripts. That's why they want to do away with them. Live streams become exhibits. That's why they want to do it with them, because Garen goes back and pulls them up. And exhibits become accountability, and they don't want any of that bullshit. We don't get accountability in Lorraine, right? Fuck Lorraine citizens. Jack Bradley, Slick Bradley, the fucking lawyer who let Amber Smith's mom rot in fucking prison for 30 fucking years or however long it was. But he is the greatest lawyer known to man. The same guy that's friendly and not friendly. I mean, that hired Rosenbaum, his opponent in that election or in that whole case. Like, give me a break, guys. Like, the level of ass eating in this county and the amount of incestual behavior is beyond me. And this show will show it, right? And I've shown other things throughout my show. I'm putting it out in records. I'm putting it out in news stories. And tomorrow I'm going to put it out in a news story where we're going to talk about specifically how the city of Lorraine gave me gave me ex-chief McCann's social security number, gave me Rocky Radiff's address and social security number and phone number and everything, gave me Tim Williams's entire unredacted personnel file because they didn't redact it properly. Tim, you better go get one of those little safety locks, because if they gave it to me and they gave it to other people, that who knows? I already told McCann, so he needs to go do it. I would tell Sergeant/patrolman, alcoholic, drunk man Rivera, I like to drive home and crash into people's cars and sheds and not pay back shit in a timely manner. He might want to go get something, because now we know what his address is, because he told it to the one officer driving him home that night, Jamie Bell, who drove him home, and we know now where he lives because he gave it out loud. I didn't catch that till the halfway through March, just like I didn't catch McCann's social. I caught Radiff's social, and this is the one I'm not going to report to them, and I'm not going to have Garen report it to him. We're going to report it to the auditor's office or the state controller, because they keep releasing these informational documents without cause and without right and under a violation of the ORC, and then forcing it in our laps. My attorney initially thought that, I think him or someone thought they were doing this in order to set us up. Problem with that thought is it's only a setup if we recognize that it was sent and then we use it. So if I were to say you put it on the redaction that was supposed to happen was on page 3, and I didn't see it, I can easily get at it, because no matter what, the onus is on the redacting authority. It's on the city to redact the records. They hold the responsibility, not me. Now, if I knowingly take that document and put it online, then I'm a problem. So with Rivera's address, I didn't realize his address was in that podcast until a good, 5 listens in. And at that point, it had already gone to well over 1 million views. And he's describing homes in that area and addresses. So if you really want to be a sleuth, you'd figure it out. I can't undo that ever. What I can not ever publish is McCann's social. And another document they gave me, I literally did the redaction myself so I could share it, because they don't respond back. If I told them, hey, you gave me McCann's file with a social, I need a new one with it redacted. Oh, Roger. Then you never get it. So I'm still waiting on it from a year ago when I reported it to Morris that I don't want James McCann's social. I may wanted his job. I may not to have it, but to take it. I may wanted his reputation, not to have it, but to take it. But I never wanted his social. I never want his credit. I never want his financial, that's crime. You don't do that. I don't do that. I'm not that guy ever. I don't wish ill will on McCann or anyone. None of these people. Not in that sense. Do I wish equal punishment for what you gave me? Absolutely. Ill will, no. I don't hate you. That would require I love you or like you or care about you. I don't. I'm going to own one, either Bradley or Carry On's house, mark my words. And I might live in it for a little while before I go. But I'm suing them personally. And I gave them an opportunity to settle beforehand. They're willing to pay and use city money to pay for the lawyers for their co-defendants in Levesque, name from earlier, and in McCann, who's no longer an employee. I don't know who's going to represent Riley and Carry On, because they can't assign lawyers for themselves. They could assign alternate for the control board to do it for them, like from the city council, but they won't, because that puts control in someone else's hands. So just know this, they at least saved the city. No, they saved their friends $10,000, because they paid Rosenbaum $5,000 and they paid this other lawyer $5,000. The other lawyer's letter that I posted online on another story, you should go look it up. It's funny as shit, because all of you will get a kick out of that. They actually asked the lawyer to provide his social and all his information for tax purposes. And the lawyer was like, fuck you. Oh, wait, so you're asking me to work as your lawyer, and you're asking me to also claim taxes in Lorraine because I work in Cleveland? I don't work in Lorraine. And the guy's like, I'm not giving you and my partner's social security numbers. Sorry. And then they finally accepted them. But that's the level of the city, the audacity of the city. They don't even, give a fuck about lawyers or anyone's business. It's all about Lorraine. How do we get our money, right? Because think about this. They're in debt. They have to find a way to pay for all these salaries, okay? Think about that. I'm going to finish up here looking. They need a way to pay for the salaries. So they lost their revenue stream when the whole ticket scheme came crashing down that they've been working on for over a year and a half. They lost their revenue stream also on top of that when Mihawk's contempt scheme went down, right? Over Mauricio, because I looked into it, and that's what led to the whole ticket scheme being realized. Why are you giving contempt charges for people not showing up for tickets? So why on God's green earth would a guy experienced in tickets and all this stuff as the Mitchell Project is? They know this shit. It's like the back of their hand. It's the bread and butter case. So he admits he's on my site. He admits he can't mention it because I would do the cover of the story. He's not wrong. But that being said, because he told me, hold on, I got to turn this heater off. It just gets too hot back here. Sorry, folks. But the bottom line is where we're at now is that because they want to continue doing this, because they want to continue hiding everything, we're stuck in this same loop every single time. They want to pay for their friends. They want to take care of their buddies. And now we have a court system utilizing what should be punishment, right? The monetary aspect of a court fine is not meant to burden or support public facilities. It's meant to cause punishment, right? So if I do something wrong and you give me a financial repercussion, that's punishment. It's not meant to somehow supplement your income, because once it starts supplementing your income, it becomes more of a requirement than a punishment. And that's where the city's been at. They haven't had money for a while because they overspend on their staff. Where better to get it than in your municipal court where no one looks? Suddenly, James Mauricio rolls in there with a camera and everything changes. I report on Mihawk. I report on these contempts. Then Mitchell Project and Puentes come in and say, well, these contempts are leading to from people who were given traffic tickets that were given them illegally. Because I was like, why do they have these? Because I was only looking at the one side for the ones that weren't the traffic tickets. I hadn't gotten there yet. And he got there. And it was a great story. And I'm glad he covered it, because he put it out in the way I could have never put it out. Touche, kudos, whatever you want to say. Yeah, sure. Did he get a little bit from me? Sure, but that's okay. Because unlike the Chronicle, he didn't just straight steal it. I'm not asking y'all to be mad or inflamed. I'm asking you to be engaged, right? I want you to pay attention to the meetings. I want you to go there and ask lawful questions. I want you to demand consistency, demand process. It doesn't accuse. Sunlight documents, right? Sunlight exposes. So the bottom line here, guys, is that you've got to be active participants in your own government. I see so much going on over in Sheffield Lake, and look, they're losing a grip. I see so much going on in Russia Township, and they're losing a grip, and other townships, and people have reached out to me, and they're begging me to cover their stories, and they're begging me to cover their towns and their townships, and you've got the Jones brothers trying to cover everything, and me trying to cover, and the Chronicle, and everyone. There's not enough reporters to cover all the stories of malfeasance in this county, and that's what scares me. And it's not Republican, it's not Democrat, it's just your government. And I am an outsider. Yes, Tucker, I'm an outsider, and I always will be. I'm not one of you. So that means I'm not dirty, skanky. I'm not out there fucking on the take. You can't buy me out. I don't have an established business that has some sort of a grip on the community. I'm not running a podcast in the upstairs of my bar using other people's confidential content or their protected content in illegal ways. I'm not talking shit about someone, using someone for likes. I'm not doing any of that. I'm reporting all the news that is the news with Gary Gnu, and that's it. And I'm putting it out there in a format that everybody can respect and understand. Now, if you don't like that, I'm sorry. If you don't like that I talk about you occasionally, I'm sorry about that. But you use me. You use me to the point where people I know who say they don't want to be involved will accidentally or possibly purposely like stuff that's directly talking shit about me and not realize that that's what they did. But you talk all the shit you want because, again, you don't matter to me. You didn't do anything wrong. It was your bar and your defense of the patrons. And the fact, well, you did do something wrong. It was your podcast that did something wrong. Taking care of business. So that was your first response. I come in, I get the shit beat out of me. Before I said anything, I hadn't said a word. I probably would have never said a word had you not displayed it for the world to see online and then made a video out of it. So if anybody wants to really say, well, Aaron started it, did I? Or did Tucker start it when he posted taking care of business and said his customers took out the trash because he didn't have employees to do it for him? Call it like I see it, folks. That being said, what's coming up next, folks, is that we've got this story coming up that we're going to go in more in depth on how they handled everything when it came to the Lorraine records case, right? I'm going to go deeper into that. I'm going to look into why they keep giving me people's socials and all this stuff, why they gave Garen Rocky Radis information in what's supposed to be a redacted state but isn't, why they gave me Tim Williams stuff in what's supposed to be a redacted state and it isn't, and other times where other agencies have given it to me. I mean, I was going to do a whole segment tonight, but I don't have time because it's 2-hour mark on the Hildreth case. That itself was FERPA violations. I recorded the superintendent arguing, well, our lawyer said that we called FERPA and we're good because we were subpoenaed. You're right. FERPA does cover you in that. But you know what doesn't cover you in that, Superintendent Graham? State law. State law says you can't expose that shit, and you did, and you let it happen. You guys argue with me all you want. I'm not wrong. I don't give a fuck what you say anymore. I know what I know. And if you can prove me wrong in a book. Patrick, you can go online and talk shit. Other people can come to my page and say, you're this, you're that. You don't know what you're talking about. You're an a-hole. You're drunk. You're this, you're that. I don't care. Maybe I drink to numb the pain of a bunch of ignoramuses that are around me that can't seem to figure out what I'm telling them is the truth. And that's present company probably most likely excluded. That's most likely everyone on my page excluded because we are a group who all feel that way. Every last one of you who watches me, except for the moles, have to have felt that way at some point. Like, I have so many people. If you just look at my page, from Nikki to Richard Majek to Garen Petty to me to other people that are in my inbox. And mind you, I will get to you. There's several of you in my inbox. I'm not blowing you off. I swear to God. Ask Nikki. It took me over a year to get to her story. It may take me a while to get there, but I will get your stories eventually. All of you. I will tell your story. So my best advice to anyone who wants me to look at their case, look at their story, look at case law, look at anything in regards to it. Like, I've got like 16 messages in my inbox right now in varying platforms. So any of you who are watching this right now know this. Instead of trying to get me to call you, because I probably won't, because I have phone anxiety, email me everything you have at a4xbeaverman@yahoo.com. That's A4X, the letter X, Beaver, BEAVERMAN @yahoo.com, or Aaron the Social Worker, that's 2 A's, AARON, the Social Worker, THESOCIAL, WORKER.com. Those two are my email addresses. You email me your shit there. I'm much more likely to write a story on it if you give me everything, and I mean everything, as much as you can get. Look at my public records documents that I put out online. I'm selling them. Yeah, I get it. But more than likely, I give them to you for free. I just want you to use them. It's going to piss the city off more than anything in the county when they see documents with my name on it. And I offered a free bonus to the first 20 people who just like my little thing. They can have them for free. But really what I want is the community to understand that you have a voice, you have power, you have the ability to make a difference. And it's time that the rest of you started doing it, not just me, not just Garen, not just John Moreau, not just Aiden Fogel, not just Amber Brownish, not just, all the people that speak at council, not even just the Patrick Horns and the Tia Hiltons of the world. All these people have a voice, and at least they're using it. What's your excuse? So I'm going to say that's about it for tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in. Law enforcement, I want to remind you guys, be lawful, not awful, because the public wants to support you. And every time you guys act like shitheads, it causes a problem. You can hate me all you want, and you can disregard who I am, but you can't ignore my words. There's power in the words, and there's power in the truth, and there's power in the law. And once you realize that, you'll realize everything. Go ahead and check out here, up here in the corner. You got my my little there, right there. If you scan that thing, like, you can donate to help keep news alive. That's right, folks. Aaron Knapp here. I am unemployed. This is what I do now. And for all their spear and like blather over there at the Madhouse, oh, he does it for the likes. Well, we all do it for the likes, folks. And why would I do it if you guys weren't liking it? Speaking of which, like and subscribe. Why wouldn't I do it for that? Like, I'm not going to do it if you guys aren't watching. If nobody ever watched this bullshit, why would I keep doing 2 and 3 hour podcasts for people to educate people when there's no people? So share this with your friends. Get them here to watch. If you disagree with me, why don't you disagree with me? I don't give a shit. Let's have a conversation about it. Let me prove it to you in ORC. Let me prove it to you in the writings and the knowledge. Let me educate you on what I believe. And if I'm wrong, let you educate me and tell me what I'm wrong about. But in the meantime, don't let this bullshit government bullshit you. Don't let Rocky Radev, Joseph Levesque, Graves, Riley, Radiff, and all the rest of them do what they've been continuing to do to this city, this county, this area for decades. If you do, it's on you. And when I leave to go to my 10 acres and my property in tax-free Texas in a decade or so, I will laugh my way all the way out of state. But in the grand scheme of things, my daughter won't. She'll be stuck here living in this house that I bought in this shitty-ass town that doesn't want to correct its government officials. Until you start holding these bitches accountable. And you did, arguably. You elected, 4 new people? Which, again, I'm going to go back to finishing my statement on this. Joseph Jones said it best when he said, you would think the Chronicle and the Morning Journal would want to be here on all days when 5 sitting council members are leaving, one of which who's been in office for a decade. You know who was there? Who was there? These guys. That guy was there. That guy audio and videoed it for you. He sat there for the whole meeting. This guy right here put it online for you. We did this for you, the people. You can hate us all you want, but tune in. Don't tune out. Thank you guys for watching tonight. Make sure you take care of this guy if you can, because I need Christmas money. I'm just kidding. I'm not really kidding, but I'm kidding. And in the grand scheme of things, take care of your government. Take care of yourselves. Be good humans. Go kiss your kids goodnight. Pet your dog. And let your city government know when you disagree with something. Just hopefully it's not about me, because that's all you guys seem to disagree about lately. Look at what's going on around you. Look at what they're doing. And look at the fact that tomorrow or the next day, I'm going to have an article out on how they've given some of my, as most people would call them, my biggest nemesises, or my, whatever you call someone that's across the aisle from you. Like, they're not my nemesis. They're not like the Joker to my Batman, because I don't see them that way. I don't see my government as something that should be adversarial. It is here for some reason, but it's never been in most places I've been. So tune in, guys, because we got nothing but more stories coming. We're going to keep supporting the work. We're going to keep doing this the way that we do it, with truth, with honor. You know, we're going to do as much as we can to expose what's going on. In the meantime, check out Lorraine Daly, doing a great job over there for you. You know, like, I would just say, if you want to do some ads and you want to reach customers right here in Lorain County and Vermilion, this is your opportunity, folks. Advertising space is now available in Lorraine Daily, Vermilion Daily, and DNC Radio. That means your business can reach local readers, local listeners, and a highly engaged community audience. And here's a bonus. For a small add-on fee, your business will also be advertised once per episode on my podcast, Unplugged with Aaron Knapp, as long as your ad remains active on one of those 2 platforms. This is web exposure plus podcast exposure in one package. If you're interested in advertising, contact me now to reserve your spot through Facebook, email, or reach out directly. Ad space is limited and local visibility matters, folks. This was an unpaid for ad by both these individuals paid. All right, well, anyway, attend your city council meetings, folks. First and third Monday coming in the new year. Check it out. Be there or be square. Get down there. Hear what they have to say. Record them because they're going to take the live stream away if they can. They're going to take away all accountability if they can. All these people that say they support Mary, but you guys support Mary, but she doesn't support, nor does the Machia, free speech. She doesn't support having our council meetings online for these people to see. So that means it just concurs. I'll be to every meeting now to make sure I video it. So thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We went a little bit over 10 minutes, over 2 hours, but appreciate you for tuning in. Please make sure that you tune in to some of our sponsors. If you need a lawyer, check out Robert Gargas. And if you need to go get some ad space or you want to check out your latest news, go check out the Lorraine Daily. In the grand scheme of things, we've also got DNC Radio out here, and we've got the Lorraine City Council. So check them out. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. This has been Aaron Knapp Unplugged. We thank you for tuning in, and you make it a wonderful evening. Law enforcement, be lawful, not awful. The rest of you, make it a wonderful night.
Unplug with Nap. Yeah, we cut through the noise. No script, no leash, no polished decoys. Broadcasting without permission. We don't ask. We lift the curtain and we drop the mask. Unplug with Nap. Yeah, we cut through the noise. No script, no leash, no polished decoys. Broadcasting without permission. We don't ask. We lift the curtain and we drop the mask. Unplug with Nap. Yeah, we cut through the noise. No script, no leash, no polished decoys. Broadcasting without permission. We don't